Alright guys, hear this. You got dancing, right? People moving their bodies, all fun, like, yeah, alright. Okay, and now you got singing, like people saying words, but musically to make it sound all nice. Oh, like that, but like, imagine if it was good. Alright, you get those two, right? Why don't they hook up? Yeah, get them all together, and then maybe even bring in a third person called storytelling. They all get together, they do the nasty, and then boom, they create a baby. And that baby will be called musical theater. That was a terrible description of what musical theater is. I am really sorry. Yup, we're talking about a musical today, but first, a little background history first with me involving like musical theater. When I was a kid, like I liked musicals like the Disney animated movies and stuff like that, but like I wasn't really into musical theater, people on stage singing and dancing and all that. I did sort of kind of get into it when I was in middle school, when I was actually part of the theater program at my middle school, and I even was part of one of the musical productions they put, which was Elf the Musical. I have a lot of fond memories of that. That was really good. And that kind of sort of started like this interest in musicals where I was like, musicals actually seem pretty neat, like musical theater. Maybe I'll look into that. But then I never did, but I suddenly got the urge to start like actually listening to musical like theater soundtracks, like Broadway musicals and stuff like that, ever since I saw a production of Hamilton last December in my town, and it was amazing, honestly. Like, oh my god, it is so incredible. And yeah, that kind of started like this ball again. It's like, oh my god, musicals, they're super good, like musical theater, I better listen to something. I started to listen to so many, like, I mean, guys, legit, I think like I've listened to way too much musical theater, if I'm being honest. Like, you don't believe me? Look at like my Spotify playlist for Broadway musicals. I'll leave a link to it down below. You'll see what I mean. I got a lot, which I know maybe just some musical theater people out there, they'll be like, oh, you think that's a lot? Because they probably listen to way more, but it's like for me, this was like over the span of a few months. And yeah, but yeah, that's basically my whole like history with musical theater and how I kind of grew to love it. There is like a little bit more to the story, but honestly, that could be a whole conversation for another thing, and it's just gonna take way too long. I don't really see like a short or like simple way or even a fun way I can describe it. Well, maybe one way. No, I'm not doing that. Basically, to sum what I've been saying before, I've been getting really into musical theater, like Broadway musicals, stuff like that, and honestly, I'm pretty in love with it. And you know who else also loves, like, Broadway musicals? Is my little sister, Diana. Oh man, she's been in love with, like, musical theater for a very long time now. In fact, like, I'll let her explain. Hey, Diana, tell him how much you love musical theater.
No!
Okay, she is not in the mood right now, but we will come back to that later. But I know this introduction is getting like super long. I should get to like actually talking about the movie. But first, there's one more thing I gotta mention. While I was on my little musical theater rabbit hole thing that I was going through, I basically learned about one of the greatest people to ever work in the world of musicals and Broadway, Stephen Sondheim. He has worked on and created some of the greatest musicals of all time. Like, some of his credits include working on West Side Story, Sweeney Todd, Company, Assassins, and the musical that we're talking about today, Into the Woods. Into the Woods is so good, honestly. I'd easily consider it one of my favorite like musicals ever now. It is so fantastic. I love everything about it, from the story to the comedy to even like the emotional stuff in it, the characters. I love it all. The music, of course, I gotta talk about that music. The music is so good. And man, Into the Woods is just amazing. Like, I watched like the original like 89, I could be wrong about that. If I am, please let me know, recording of it on YouTube, and it is so good, man. And oh man, it's like, as of right now, I've listened to some other like Sondheim musicals, but I still consider Into the Woods my favorite one. It is so fantastic, and whenever I heard people talk about it online, I always heard the same thing: the musical's great, the movie not so much. And guess what we're talking about today? Okay, so the story of Into the Woods, both the original musical and the movie, is that imagine if all these fairy tales, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, Cinderella, Rapunzel, were all happening at the same time, on the same day. And meanwhile, there's this baker and his wife who have a curse placed upon them by a witch. The curse basically goes, nah, bro, you can't have a baby, but they want a baby. And so basically they have to get, hold on, I have it written down here. They need to get a cow as white as milk, a cape as red as blood, hair as yellow as corn, and a slipper as pure as gold. to try to lift the curse off of them, and so that they can have their child. And also they're singing because it's a musical. Some really great songs in it. And yeah, the story. There's something really interesting about the story in the original musical is that the first act kind of plays out like you would expect like a Disney musical to be. It's like fun, it's kind of like charming, and it's like there's some dark stuff here and there, but for the most part it's fun, you know, right? A little dark, but hey, fun fairy tale world. And in the second act is basically what real fairy tales are like the original stories, where it's dark, there's a bunch of death in it, and it's like it doesn't become like too gruesome or anything, but it basically like has like this different tone shift to it, and it's like really cool, honestly. Like I love the way it's done. And does this movie do the same thing? Well, we'll get into that, but like first things first, like before like I talk about like the changes the movie does, like, you know, but compared to like the original source material, I feel like it's only fair to first talk about how the movie works as its own thing. And as its own thing, is it good? Short answer, long answer, coming right up. Okay, so this movie, I can see some people liking it. They can see it, like, if they've never seen the original musical and just thought this was like some like fun, darkish take on these like fairy tales, you know, and they think like, hey, this is kind of neat. I can see that happening. I can see that. But like the movie, like, you know, it's like on its own, it's fine-ish. Like it's okay, like a 6 out of 10 maybe. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't even think it's like the worst like musical to movie adaptation I've ever seen, honestly. It's like it's fine. Like it's got some good stuff in it. Like the music, like the score, like the instrumental, it's still very good. Like it's Sondheim, so of course it is. Like some of the songs are sung pretty well. Like the song that the two princes sing, like Prince Charming and the other prince. I'm sorry, fake Into the Woods fan. I know that I don't remember the other names. But like their song, I thought was actually pretty good. Like I thought it was sung well. Same goes for some other songs. But like the casting choices, I don't think they're terrible. I just don't think they're that great, some of them. Like, they got James Corden in this, who I don't like, so forget what I said about it not being terrible. I don't like James Corden at all, so it's like, that is a terrible casting choice, him as the baker. You know, I didn't like that. But Emily Blunt, she did fine, I guess, but like, I don't know, her, like, she plays the baker's wife, and she kind of doesn't have personality in this, like, I don't know, or at least not a personality that's really worth talking about, because like I barely remember it. She feels kind of bland. Same goes for some of the other characters, honestly. The witch, played by Meryl Streep, she did pretty well, I guess. You know, she was fine also. Let's see, Jack, he's like a little boy in this, which I was gonna talk about like the changes later, but I'll just say this. In the musical, he's kind of like more like a teenager, or somewhere between like kid and like grown adult. He's like kind of like a teenager, but here he's just like a little kid. And so like I'll talk about that a bit later, but like here it's like, you know, for this take on it, the kid did fine. Little Red Riding Hood I thought was pretty good. Let's see, they had Johnny Depp play the big bad wolf, but it's not like a CGI wolf or anything. It's just like a humanoid wolf, and I don't really like that. It looks weird to me, but at the same time, I guess I would have preferred this more to like an ugly CGI wolf. So I guess there's that, because like the giants. Oh yeah, some giants show up later, and you know, their CGI is actually pretty bad. I don't like them. But like overall, it's like, yeah, the casting is okay. Yeah, and like they sing some of the songs pretty well, but like I don't know, something is missing from like the musical moments, especially the big ones where like they're supposed to be like super emotional, where I was all like, I should be feeling something here, but it's like, I don't know, it's just missing that thing, you know, right? That factor that makes me go, oh dang, I feel this. But when I was watching, I was like, hey, yeah, this is fine, you know. All right, now let's talk about how this movie adapts the original musical. The answer is not that well. It's yeah, it does. It's not really good at it, and let me explain why. All right, so a big thing about the original musical was its comedy. It is so funny. Like, yeah, it does have like emotion to it. It's got like these really emotional scenes which work really well. But in the beginning part, it's comedy, and it's like super funny, honestly. Like, oh man, it is hilarious. And the thing about this movie is they actually got rid of the comedy. In fact, they actually play a lot of jokes seriously in this, and I don't know, I found that a bit weird. And here's the thing, when it comes to adaptations, there are some that drastically change the original source material so much, and they can still turn out good. But the thing is, when they do that, like, let's say they got rid of this one thing that made like the original source material the way it was, it's like, all right, they got rid of it, but they added something new in it, so that way it could, like, it fits like the new take they're trying to do. They don't really do that here. It's like, because they got rid of the comedy, like if they wanted to do this like this more serious and like, I guess, realistic approach to it, it's like, all right, maybe, but like you gotta add something in there to make it interesting. But no, they don't really do that, because like the characters, you know, they're funny and that's what gives them personality, you know, right? But because they got rid of the comedy, now the characters, since they didn't really add anything in there to, you know, make them more interesting, now they just feel kind of bland, if, you know, if that makes any sense. And now the music, like the music is still very good, like the songs are well written, the instrumentals still very good, but like here's the thing, they cut a lot of songs from the original musical, which I find that odd. Like it's like quite a lot, honestly. And like the songs themselves are performed fine, but like some of them are just missing like the gravitas of the original musical, you know, like the thing that makes them really like hit, if that makes any sense. That's the second time I said that. I should really stop repeating myself. But let me look down here in my notes. I got some other stuff. Yeah, the same thing. Like I was saying before, like the cast choices. Yeah, again, missing that gravitas feeling to it. And like the dark undertones of the original musical are kind of not here. Like they have it, sure-ish. Like, you know, there's still some dark stuff that happens in it, like, you know, right? But like, I don't know, it still feels like a fun musical adventure, like a fun fairy tale adventure for both the first and the second part, or at least like, you know, when it does that shift, like the shift never really happens, honestly. It still kind of has the same tone, if that makes any sense. And yeah, that's I kind of don't really like that, because like here's the thing, like I don't mind adaptations that change a lot, you know, right, as long as the changes that they make are good. But here the changes, you know, they're not, they don't heavily ruin the movie, but it just like feels like a lot of what made the original musical, it's just not present here. And I don't know, that kind of made it like a little bit of a bum to watch, like you know, am I using I'm saying it kind of sucked to watch. So in conclusion, yeah, Into the Woods, the original musical, was great, and the movie is just okay. Yeah, just a simple sentence right there. But yeah, like overall, like the movie is okay, and I can see some people liking it. But if you really want to get like into the Woods, I highly recommend you watch the original 1998 recording of the Broadway musical. Bernadette Peters is in it. She plays the witch, and she's fantastic. I love it. I love her because I realized that she voiced Rita in Animaniacs. Like she was the cat, and I love that. Like my heart was all like, oh my god, I love Animaniacs. I will totally watch it. But like for real though, I believe 1998. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I know, fake Into the Woods fan right here. But like I highly recommend you watch it. In fact, it's on YouTube, so I'll leave a link for it down below if you want to see it. But like yeah, Into the Woods, really great musical, just okay movie. But you know who, like I said before, my sister is really into musicals, so I wonder what she thinks about this movie. In fact, I'll ask her right now. Hey Diana, what are your thoughts on the movie adaptation of Into the Woods?
No!